人能轮回成动物的4个逻辑推理。
The 4 logical reasons why human being can reincarnate into animals. Jeffing. March 20th, 2021. There are many cases recorded in books about the reincarnation of people into animals. There are also many cases of the use of hypnosis in contemporary Western society to remind people that they have been animals in previous lives. Readers who are interested can search for articles about people's reincarnation into animals on the internet. Human beings can reincarnate into animals, and animals can also reincarnate into human beings. The logical reasoning is as follows. 1. The sum of positive and negative energies in the universe is 0. This is a law of the universe. This law tells us that what we get is always equal to what we give. If you get something, you must pay. If you pay, you will get it. Otherwise, there would be no rules of heaven. Also, it's a loss of justice and fairness. From this law, we can know that, when one receives something from someone else, he must repay it in some way. There are many ways to repay, one of which is to become animals raised by creditors, which can be pigs, dogs, cattle, horses, sheep, chickens, etc. Therefore, there is a folk saying, "I cannot repay your great kindness. I would like to be one of your cattle or your horse in the next life." This is true. There are not many people who raise animals in modern society, especially those who grow up and live in cities. It is difficult for people to become domesticated animals to repay their debts. They can only go to large farms to reincarnate and provide meat for human being to compensate for their debts. 2. Life is a kind of non-material structure with spirituality. Usually people call it a soul, and its essence is consciousness. Whatever kind of consciousness you have, you will be reincarnated into that kind of life. This is also a law, also called the law of heaven. When observing people according to this law, you will find that there are quite a few people in the population whose state of consciousness is not much different from a certain type of animal, but can also be very similar to a certain animal in nature that it can even be compared to. Therefore, these people will reincarnate into animals after their physical bodies die. 3. There is a law of life balance in the universe which tells us that life is always in a state of dynamic balance, just like the ratio of men and women in human beings is always maintained at 51 to 49, although in a specific time and place the ratio may exceed 51 to 49, but macroscopically this ratio remains unchanged, which is called dynamic balance. In nature, the number of any species has an upper limit. Once the upper limit is exceeded, the balance mechanism will come into effect, and the number will decline and be reduced. From this we know that there will be a transformation between humans and animals. Once there are more people, there will be fewer animals, and once there are fewer people, there will be more animals. Where do these other animals come from? They are reincarnated from human beings. 4. The human world is a transfer station for life at all levels. This is what I discovered when I observed the continent of the 3 realms that lives pass through. That is to say, human beings, but not only human beings, but there are also gods, Buddhas, immortals, demons, spirits, monsters, ghosts, lions, tigers, wolves, cows, horses, pigs, sheep, chickens, dogs, etc. Among them, except insects, microorganisms, shrimps, flowers, and some trees that do not participate in the life reincarnation system, all other kinds of life have their own representatives living in human society in the form of human beings. This phenomenon shows that animals can become human beings, and human beings can become animals. From the above 4 laws, the laws of heaven, it can be concluded that people can reincarnate into animals. Knowing this truth gives us the following 4 revelations and warnings. 1. Never owe debts to others. This debt includes economic debts and emotional debts, as well as debts owed to nature. Even if it is obtained from parents and children, it must be repaid. 2. Examine whether there is a certain animal consciousness in your consciousness. If so, get rid of it as soon as possible. 3. Do not harm domestic animals and wild animals as much as possible, otherwise you will be in great danger of being reincarnated into the animal world. 4. Listen to the teachings of sages and try to stay away from demons and spirits. What one should always keep in mind is that divine punishments are slow but sure, like big nets that let nothing slip through them, and heaven will not spare anyone.
生命奥秘声波能量
The Mysteries of Life Energy of Sound Waves. Jiefeng. November 28, 2021. Sound waves have frequencies, and different frequencies carry different energies. Different energies have different effects on the world and on life. Any kind of sound will have an impact on the world and life, either a beneficial or harmful impact. When two people quarrel, the sound will have a harmful influence on other people. If two people talk sweetly, the sound will have a beneficial influence on other people. Every sound has its own wavelength and bandwidth like those of sound waves. Different sound waves have different values and functions. Sound waves can be a panacea for healing or a powerful weapon for killing. Avalokiteshvara heart mantra Om Mani Padme Hum has magical sound waves, has the function and magical effect of enhancing truth, goodness and beauty and suppressing falsehoods, evil and ugliness. Regular chanting is beneficial to the sublimation of life. When reciting Amitabha, if the A is pronounced as A, it will cause endless harm, but if it is pronounced as A, one will benefit infinitely. What is the reason? Because the sound waves of A and A are different, and since the sound waves are different, their energy is different, their properties are different, their functions are different, and their effects are different. Every time I hear someone pronounce Amitabha as Amitabha, I feel bad, very uncomfortable, want to lose my temper and feel like falling into a dark abyss. But when I hear someone say Amitabha, I feel joy. It makes people feel calm, emotionally stable, and feel like they have entered the kingdom of heaven. Everyone knows the story of Meng Jiangnu crying at the Great Wall. How powerful is Meng Jiangnu's crying? It is said, she cried until the sun and the moon were dimmed, it was dark all around, and the autumn wind howled, the sea waves ran high, and the Great Wall collapsed section by section, covering a distance of 250 miles. Of course, this is an exaggerated description by writers, but the sound waves of Meng Jiangnu's crying have been oscillating in the sky of history, and they directly affect human beings today. The unjust case of Dou Yi is also a well-known story. Dou Yi was wronged and swore that there will be snow in June, and 3 years of severe drought in Chuzhou, and her oath came true. The walls of Jericho in the Bible is a well-known story among Christians. After the death of Moses, Joshua served as the leader of the Jews and continued to lead the Jews to march to Canaan. After crossing the Jordan River on the way to Canaan, one must first enter the city of Jericho. But the walls of Jericho were strong, and the Canaanites would not allow the Jews to enter the city, so the Jews marched around the city for 7 days. After the end of the 7th day, the priests blew their horns, and the Jews shouted loudly at the same time. Then the walls of Jericho collapsed to the sound of trumpets and the shouts of the Jews. It is said that stones weighing several tons or even dozens of tons that were used in the construction of the Egyptian pyramids were not pulled up manually, nor were they hoisted up by mechanical equipment. Instead, a spell was placed on the stone, and then someone recited the spell, and the stone floated into the air. The floating stones also fit tightly into the city wall, and followed the voice of the mantra chanter. Are sound waves that powerful? Many people must know the Chladni figures in the history of science. The German physicist Chladni put a very wide and thin metal sheet on a violin, and evenly sprinkled fine sand on the metal sheet, and then Chladni played the violin with a bow. As a result, the fine sand on the metal sheet was arranged into a beautiful pattern. With the change of the melody and frequency of the piano sound, those beautiful patterns changed shape continuously, forming an ever-changing pattern, which is known as the Chladni figures. The Chladni figures proves that sound waves will cause changes in surrounding objects, cause snow to fall in June, cause city walls to collapse, and of course cause heavy rains that pour down, overflowing floods, and will even turn a drought to cause an area to become a desert, and create hailstones that will become as big as footballs. Now let's look at the relationship between sound wave energy and life. To gain vigorous vitality, life needs to absorb powerful energy. The stronger the energy, the more vigorous life will be. And sound wave energy is a kind of life energy that cannot be ignored. But it must be noticed that sound wave energy can be beneficial or harmful. Which are beneficial and which are harmful sound wave energies? All sound waves that can make people feel joyful, calm, comfortable, and are uplifting are beneficial sound wave energies, such as beautiful songs and tunes, the whispers of lovers, the peaceful words of saints, the chirping of birds, etc. The sound waves that can make people anxious, bored, worried, and listless are harmful energies, such as the complaints and nagging of others, hoarse shouting, the growling of quarrel makers, and the croaking of crows, etc. From this we know that all positive, active, optimistic, romantic, and musical sound waves are beneficial to life, and all negative, passive, pessimistic, unromantic, and noisy sound waves are harmful to life. This is true not only for others but also for oneself. That is to say, when a person swears, he hurts others as well as himself. In short, the sounds you like to hear are beneficial to you, and the sounds you don't like are harmful to you. I hope that everyone can absorb the sound wave energies that are beneficial to their lives every day.
灵的频率解析灵是生命之源。
Analysis of spiritual frequency. Spirit is the source of life. Jiefeng. May 24th, 2023. Edited by Qin Yu. We often mention soul, spiritual power, spiritual perception, mind, and spirituality. We also talk about being skillful, having telepathy, spiritual resonance, being spiritually gifted, miraculous remedies, stubborn and unyielding, suffering of living beings. So, what exactly is spirit? Spirit is a vibrational wave, a type of wave that encompasses all conscious activities of living beings. Since it is a wave, it has a frequency which refers to the number of occurrences per second. An event that happens once per second is called 1 Hertz. If the vibrations of a living being occur less than 20 times or more than 20,000 times per second, the human ear cannot perceive the sound of those vibrations. For example, a butterfly's wings vibrate only 5 to 6 times per second, so we cannot hear the sound of a butterfly flying. However, the vibrations of bees, flies, and mosquitoes occur at frequencies of 320, 352, and 640 respectively, which enables us to hear the sound of their flight. The structure of all objects is determined by different vibrational frequencies. The higher the frequency, the more complex the structure. The higher the frequency, the more intangible it becomes. Perfect art, such as the beauty of the human body, is also a manifestation of vibrational frequencies. The higher the vibrational frequency during pregnancy, the more beautiful the physical appearance of the children. We can observe that different frequencies lead to different material forms, and the frequency of spirit leads to different conscious forms of life. Therefore, the acceptance of specific spiritual frequencies is closely related to the formation of our own life structure. So, which spiritual frequencies should we accept and which should we reject? Since spirit is a type of vibrational wave, it must have a frequency. When I was in my homeland, the 1,000-year world, the frequencies we received there were all a kind of sound from nature. Of course, that sound is different in nature from the sounds of nature on Earth. That sound, or rather frequency, is the frequency of the greatest creator, which is the spirit of the greatest creator. Since spirit is a vibrational wave, the greatest creator's vibrational waves permeate all space and time in the universe. Therefore, we can confidently say that all things have spirit. Not only do plants and animals have spirit, but mountains, rivers, stones, and houses also have spirit. Therefore, we have discovered that everything has a spirit. In our daily lives, we not only receive the spirits from God, but also receive a multitude of spirits from plants, animals, mountains, rivers, and supernatural beings. Unfortunately, in most cases, what people receive is not the spirit from God, but rather the spirits of human beings themselves and a large number of the wronged and aggrieved, and even the spirits of arrogant beings from higher realms. These spirits have a significant destructive impact on the structure of our lives, unless we distance ourselves from these spirits and return to the embrace of nature. The sounds in nature are not specifically referring to the sounds of wind, rain, bird chirping, frog croaking, thunder, or ocean waves. Instead, they refer to sounds with frequencies lower than 20 Hz, such as the sounds of plant growth, blooming, heartbeat, and the movement of white clouds. We know that infrasound is harmful to the human body. When the frequency of external object vibrations resonates with the frequency of our body vibrations, it can damage our internal organs and even the nervous system. However, it is evident that the sounds of plant growth and blooming, which are infrasound, not only do not harm our health but actually contribute to our well-being. This is a very subtle phenomenon. Some infrasounds are harmful, even fatal to our health, while others are highly beneficial. I have also discovered a phenomenon where infrasound at 1 Hz actually resonates with the human heart's rhythm, yet it has no harmful effects on the body. This is difficult for me to explain, and perhaps scientists in the relevant field can provide a clear explanation. Now, here comes the central mystery. The frequency of the greatest creator spirit happens to be 1 Hz, and only waves at this frequency can penetrate all dimensions of the universe. The optimal frequency for the human heart's rhythm is also 1 Hz, or 60 beats per minute. This should create a resonance, but this resonance phenomenon does not cause harm to the human body. This is a mystery that I find difficult to unravel. However, we can draw inspiration from the ticking sound of an alarm clock in a bedroom. The frequency of the alarm clock aligns with the rhythm of the heart, and it does not cause any resonance that harms the body. Therefore, the frequency of greatest creator's spirit does not harm the human body due to resonance with the frequency of the heart. Now let's analyze which frequencies are beneficial or harmful to human life. Scientists have discovered that for plants, sound at a frequency of 6,000 Hz is most favorable for their growth. Sound frequencies between 700 and 900 Hz can hinder plant growth, and frequencies above 10,000 Hz can lead to the complete death of plants. Scientists have conducted experiments and found that the frequencies ranging between 2,000 and 4,000 Hz produce the most unbearable sounds. However, our judgment is not based on frequencies alone, but rather on our own subjective perception. The sound of dragging an iron shovel on concrete is undeniably unpleasant. Sudden screams, car horns, arguments, noise, crying, complaints, grievances, hoarse shouting, painful moans, desperate cries, and various other sounds also cause discomfort to individuals. In the end, we can roughly establish a clue. Any sound that brings happiness, excitement, joy, serenity, tranquility, contentment, comfort, pleasure, freedom, and blessedness is beneficial to mental and physical health. On the other hand, sounds that cause discomfort, irritability, anxiety, fear, depression, melancholia, restlessness, and pain are detrimental to our well-being. The conclusion is that the frequency of spirits is 1 Hz, and the waves of spirits permeate all time and space in the universe. This leads to the belief that everything has a spirit, and all the spirits of life and objects come from the spirit of the greatest creator. Once this spirit disappears, life ceases to exist. The strength of the spirit is related to the sounds a life form hears. More joyful sounds result in stronger spirits, while more disturbing sounds weaken the spirit. The spirit is the source of life, and humans themselves are without spirits. The human spirit comes from the greatest creator, and the vitality of the human spirit comes from consciousness. Pure and orderly consciousness makes a person spirited, with spiritual energy, perception, and spirituality. They become agile, flexible, resourceful, and talented. On the other hand, if consciousness is chaotic and disordered, a person becomes sluggish, dull, unresponsive, clumsy, lacking perception, and lacking understanding. All spirits of life come from the greatest creator, so what about the so-called evil spirits? This question will be explored in a separate analysis. In conclusion, spirits are the source of all things and the source of life, with a frequency of 1 Hz.
灵是生命之源。
Spirit is the source of life. Jiefeng. May 28, 2023. Nuwa used clay to create humans and breathed life into them with a single breath. This is, of course, a mythological legend without scientific basis or empirical support. However, it is enlightening in understanding the concept of spirit. The people created by Nuwa are nothing more than a pile of earthly materials. It is only when the breath is blown in that the soil is transformed into living beings with spirituality. The breath blown in represents the spirits. In other words, it is the infusion of spiritual energy into the physical bodies that turns them into living organisms. In reality, things are not as simple as that. However, one thing is certain. Any material without the input of spirit cannot become a living entity. We often say, water is the source of life. Water is crucial for humans, animals, plants, insects, and microorganisms on Earth. Without water, these life forms cannot survive, so water is considered the source of life. However, some viruses, fungi, aphid, nematodes, diatoms, and red algae can survive without water. There are countless souls that can exist without water. In fact, all forms of non-material life can survive without water. Even Zen master Bodhidharma, who achieved enlightenment, survived for 9 years without eating or drinking. There are supernatural phenomena such as manifestation of Bodhisattva, manifestation of Buddha, manifestation of ancestors, and possession. Undoubtedly, those who manifest do not need to drink water to survive. Thus, we can conclude that water is not the source of life. Modern science has delved into the microcosmic world, reaching a realm without fundamental particles. Since fundamental particles do not exist, string theory has emerged with vibration at its core. Vibrations give rise to the diverse forms and movements of the material world, from fundamental particles to celestial bodies. The driving force behind the universe and the changes in the world is the vibration of the strings. Now the question arises, where do the strings come from? Who plays the vibrations of the strings? Is it the Big Bang? Certainly not. That is just speculation or conjecture, not much different from mythological legends. When I explain the origin of the universe, I have already revealed the birth of the greatest creator. If one does not believe in this, we can still logically infer the existence of the greatest creator through facts. Just look at the airplane, ship, and car you are currently traveling in, and look at the computer, mobile phone, and microwave you use. From the smallest utensil like a needle to the house you live in and the city, which one doesn't have a creator? Any product we use has one or dozens or even thousands of creators, and these creators of the products are humans. From this, we can understand that in the vast world we encounter, which one doesn't have a creator? Even our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, hair, bones, organs, and everything else were consciously created. And the creator of all these things is the greatest creator. Therefore, we can conclude that it is the greatest creator who plays the vibrations of the strings, just as humans control a spacecraft in the universe. How does the greatest creator play the vibrations of the strings? The answer is, the heartbeat of the greatest creator is the vibration of the microcosmic strings, not deliberately played but similar to how the human heart pumps blood to deliver vital nutrients to every cell, keeping them alive. Now we must ask, what exactly is the string that physicists talk about? What kind of existence is it? The answer is, the string is spirit, a transcendent existence. For matter, spirit is a vibrational wave that propels the world's motion, development, and changes. For life, spirit is the energy input that causes the heart to beat, and this input is also carried out through the vibration of spirit. Thus, we discover that spirit is the source of life. Once the input of this energy called spirit is cut off, life dies instantly. Regarding the analysis of spirit, there are 3 articles in total. The first one is an analysis of the frequencies of spirit. The second one is spirit as the source of life. And the third one is the classification and application of spirit.
灵的分类与运用。
Classification and application of spirit. Jiefeng. May 28, 2023. Edited by Qinyu. Spirit has only one source, which is the vibration wave caused by the heartbeat of the greatest creator's heart. This wave, with a frequency of 1 Hz, can penetrate through the entire universe and is responsible for the movement and changes in the material world, as well as the survival of all life. Therefore, there is no classification of spirit. The heartbeat of all living beings is driven by the vibration wave of the greatest creator's spirit. The greatest creator's spirit is not only the primary driving force of the universe, but also its eternal driving force. The mysterious and unfathomable superstring recognized by scientists is the spirit of the greatest creator. So where do the so-called evil spirits, manifestations of bodhisattvas, and spirit possession come from? And what about terms like spirituality, spiritual power, spiritual perception, and spiritual phenomena? Let's consider a scenario where we place a sponge, a towel, a wooden block, and an iron block in the open and let them be sprinkled with a drizzle. In the end, we observe that the sponge absorbs the most water, followed by the towel, while the iron block absorbs the least. Despite receiving a similar amount of water on the same surface area from the drizzle, why does the sponge absorb the most water and the iron block the least? We find that the sponge absorbs more water because it has more hollow spaces in its structure, whereas the structure of the iron block is dense with fewer hollow spaces. The hollower an object is, the easier it is to absorb more water, whereas denser objects have a harder time absorbing more water. The greatest creator's spirit is like that drizzle, evenly distributed in any time and space of the universe. Or we can say that the vibration waves of the greatest creator's spirit propel all material movements and heartbeats without any loss. The variation in spiritual qualities such as high spirituality, strong spiritual power, and acute spiritual perception among different living beings is related to their life structure. It is like how the structure of a sponge, towel, wooden block, or iron block determines their ability to absorb water. From this, we notice a phenomenon. The emptier something is, the more it can accommodate. Conversely, the more solid something is, the less it can accommodate. This phenomenon enlightens us that the emptier a person's heart is, the more it can resonate with the vibration of the greatest creator's spirit. On the other hand, a solid heart has a harder time resonating with the greatest creator's spirit. In other words, the level of a person's spirituality, the strength of their spiritual power, and the sensitivity of their spiritual perception all depend on the state of their heart, whether it is empty or solid. The emptier the heart, the more it can resonate with the greatest creator's spirit at the same frequency, while the more solid it is, the more challenging it becomes to resonate with the greatest creator's spirit. Based on this deduction, we can draw a conclusion. The emptier the heart, the higher the person's spirituality, the stronger their spiritual power, and the sharper their spiritual perception. Conversely, the more solid the heart, the lower the person's spirituality, the weaker their spiritual power, and the duller their spiritual perception. Once we understand this conclusion, I invite you to read the Heart Sutra, and all mysteries will become clear, with the sky cleared of any obstructions. Here is the full text of the Heart Sutra. When Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, Lord who looks down with compassion, attained enlightenment through his profound wisdom, he realized that all forms, feelings, thoughts, behaviors, and cognitions are only illusions. With this realization, he moved beyond all suffering and difficulty. Sariputra. Therefore, the tangible comes from the invisible which contains it. There are no essential differences between the two, and the same applies for feelings, thoughts, behavior, and cognition. No matter which of the above, none of their natures have birth or death, being or non-being, defilement or purity, or increasing or decreasing. Therefore, the nature of the world and of life is invisible. Neither any individuals nor any of their sensations listed above really exist. Thinking and our physical perceptions of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and feeling mislead us into our illusions and apply questions to our cognitions about good versus evil, ego versus non-ego, wise versus unwise, life versus death, and attainment versus non-attainment of supreme Dharma. All of these perceptions are only illusions. The Bodhisattva relied on the wisdom that could bring him to the shores of freedom. He was entirely free from worry and thus overcame all fears and all that upset him, leaving behind this distorted, illusory world and ultimately attaining nirvana. All Buddhas of the past, present, and future have and will continue to rely on that same wisdom to bring them to the shores of freedom, to attain supreme authentic wisdom ultimately. Therefore, know that wisdom that can bring us to the shore of freedom is a great spiritual mantra, a great bright mantra, a supreme mantra, an unequaled mantra. It can remove all suffering. It is genuine and not false. It reads, go, go, go. Go to the other shore with transcending wisdom. Go to the realm of freedom. Go to attain enlightenment soon, just go. When the mind is without obstructions, there is no fear. When the mind is free from worry, there is no fear. One can distance oneself from delusional dreams, attain ultimate nirvana, become a celestial being or a Buddha, and journey to the Elysium world to obtain eternal life. Is there any basis for this? Yes, when the mind is free from worry, it is empty. When the mind is empty, it can resonate 100% with the greatest Creator's spirit. When it resonates with the greatest Creator's spirit, one can be in harmony with the greatest Creator. Since the greatest Creator is eternal, one attains eternal life. So what about evil spirits? Evil spirits are vibrations that oppose the spirit of the greatest Creator. Once an individual confronts the vibration wave of the greatest Creator's spirit, they themselves become an evil spirit. Specifically speaking, evil spirits are everywhere, filling the void. The manifestations of bodhisattvas are revelations given by the heavens to people. These manifestations occur almost every day, such as sandstorms, super typhoons, hailstorms, floods, droughts, and snowfall in June. All these phenomena are manifestations of bodhisattvas. Spirit possession refers to departed souls who, due to resentment or regrets, cannot transcend into the afterlife and remain in the space between yin and yang. They borrow the bodies of living individuals to express their desires. Another situation is when the influential thoughts of ancestors control and influence the thinking of present-day individuals. These individuals lack their own thoughts and solely rely on the thoughts of their predecessors to contemplate and judge present viewpoints and phenomena. In summary, when individuals lack their own thoughts and will, only reiterating and expressing the thoughts and will of others, they are experiencing spirit possession. In this sense, the majority of humanity is beings possessed by spirits. The utilization of the greatest Creator's spirit is straightforward. As long as we empty our hearts and remove all obstructions, resonating at the same frequency with the greatest Creator's spirit is the best method